Welcome to Grave Discussions. I am one half of your horrifying host duo, Barnabas.
And I am the other half, Samael.
Fiends, welcome back to the podcast. It has been a minute, but you know that we got to come back and do our annual top horror films of the year list. We can't do without it because honestly, for me, it's one of my favorite things to do because I just love kind of ranking these movies and talking about, the year past and everything. So this is episode 108, the Terrorizing Top 5 of 2023.
Yeah, I've been kind of lacking, guys, in horror movies. I've kind of just been watching a lot of old stuff and like TV shows and stuff like that. So please forgive me. And as of recently, I've been stuck on Dexter.
Oh yeah, nice. Doesn't Dexter have like, what is it, like 7-8 seasons or something like that?
Yeah, we just finished season 1, so
Nice. Yeah, we were catching up on some stuff too. Actually, we did catch a couple horror series. We saw that Yellow Jackets. We finished that. We caught up to that. That was dope. So I'm looking forward to the next season of that. And then, yeah, we've been watching some other stuff. But, hey, it's all good, man. Life gets in the way sometimes. And, it helps that I've been writing for defactofilmreviews.com as well. So I have been watching some of the newer stuff to review it for that site. But, life has been busy. Work's been busy. So totally understandable. So for that reason, we're going to do a top 5, just kind of condense it and also shorten up the episode a little bit, keep it nice and short and sweet for you all. But as always, I wanted to check in with you, Samael. How have things been? How are you?
things have been okay. We talked about that stuff earlier, which I'm not going to touch on because, fuck it. I want to stay positive. We got a new puppy. He's half Mastiff and half Black Lab.
Cute.
We named him Charlie. My dog Jojo loves him. They play together. They jump around. They bite each other playfully. Mm-hmm. But my older dog Sammy, Jojo's sister, does not like him yet. She growls at him, shows him her teeth, which I get it. She's the alpha, so yeah. She needs that period of adjustment. And he's little, so he doesn't get it. So he'll still keep trying to bite her ankles and stuff. But yeah, that's about it. For Christmas, Olivia got me UFC 5.
Nice.
And we agreed that this year is going to be a very small Christmas because last year we each spent about $500 or more on Christmas presents. So yeah. I told her, I was like, look, give me UFC 5 and then a couple of those small gift sets from Walmart. They have make your an Oreo milkshake gift set. Mm-hmm. They have a fucking hot sauce gift set, a charcuterie board with a little mini cleaver, stuff like that. And there's some stuff I'm going to get her pretty soon, too. I know she wants some, shit from Ulta, so I'm going to run over to Ulta one of these days and see what I can find her. At least what I know, but I still got to, pick we're doing one big present and, a bunch of, small ones. Where I might head over to, Five Below and get some, knickknacks and stuff like that. And
stocking stuffers.
Yeah, we're not trying to go overboard, honestly, but other than that, I've just been chilling. I've been lacking in video games lately. I was always playing fucking DBD and TCM and stuff like that. But I don't know, the past 3 weeks I've just been lacking in the video games and just been more so watching TV shows. We've been watching Dexter. We've been watching 6 Feet Under.
Yeah, I always want to watch that.
It's really good. The first episode's wild. So we just started that one. I haven't been watching What We Do in the Shadows lately. I really want to get back to that because I love Nandor.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's such a good show. No, not to cut you off, but I just read an article. They just announced that unfortunately, What We Do in the Shadows is going to be ending with season 6.
Oh,
I know, which is really sad because it's my wife and I's pretty much one of our favorite shows as well. So that is sad. Unfortunate, but I still think it's going to be a very good final season and I'm looking forward to it. And I also hope that they do eventually bring back the kind of spin-off show, which is Wellington Paranormal. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's the same creators and it's also hilarious. So I'm hoping that they continue with that universe in some capacity, but Yeah, I just read that before we started recording the podcast, and I was like kind of upset about it, but it's all right.
Damn, that fucking sucks.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do, right? But I'm glad that you're doing well. I'm glad that you've been catching up on some stuff. I also just here and there watch whatever I can watch, and I have been doing a little bit of gaming, but I've been mostly on like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, a little bit,
God,
and
I hate
then
that fucking game. It's so I
yeah,
forgot.
I
I've been
know.
playing that too, bro. It's insane if you play hardcore. Like, bro, you can't like leave your spawn, and there's so many buildings with so many windows and so many
Mm,
entrances that you don't even know where to like first look. So I just play like I'll play like hardcore like rustment, so only like rust and shipment, or
yeah,
I'll play meat 24/7 on hardcore
yeah, that's
because
pretty
like
fun.
everything else is just like, bro, like there's no running gunning. People just camp with they put their assault rifles on semi-auto mode and they put on a fucking thermal and they shoot you from across the map. Like it's
Yeah.
boring.
I
It's
just
so
play I
irritating.
just play casual shit, and I just run around with the shotgun most of the time,
Oh my
and
god.
that's pretty fun. I
It
know, but
is.
it's the most fun to me because most people aren't doing it, so it's exciting. But
Oh dude,
I
I
know
just
that
noob tube on shipment, just the noob tube over and over. The
yeah,
fucking grenade launcher, just fucking getting like fucking 9 multi kills by just shooting into their spawn
I
and
mean,
then
why
dropping a
not?
fucking VTOL on them. Fuck it.
Yep. So I've been playing that, and it does frustrate me, but it's also a nice little release sometimes. And I've been playing Final Fantasy 16. That game is long as fuck, but it's really good. And then my wife and I are still playing Baldur's Gate 3, which is also a ton of fun. So we've been doing that and watching some shows and movies and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm glad that you're doing well. I'm doing well. We're all doing well. Hopefully, you, the listener, are also doing well. But let's not waste any more time. We got a whole year to look back on and do our top 5 movies. But Sam, I know that you haven't been able to watch that much this year. But from what you have seen and what you've kind of gathered, just overall with like movie releases, the community, stuff like that, give me your baseline kind of opinion on horror in 2023.
I think horror is doing fine. It was like really like the releases were coming really quick at the beginning of the year, and then the
Mm-hmm.
announcements, and then we had like a bunch of like great movies dropping on Shutter and on other things like Prime. It's just that like I feel like the marketing wasn't the best for a lot of them, but
Yeah.
for some of them it really was. So I think we can. I don't think this year was lackluster, but I feel like honestly it was like, and not that I've been watching every single release, but there haven't been like a bunch of like big releases. It kind of reminds me of like honestly kind of like 2021, the year after COVID, how
Yeah.
like there haven't been like a bunch of like super crazy popular ones that people were like dying to go see. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest releases were like on Shutter and on like um, VOD and stuff like that. So I mean, theater releases were like, from what I've seen, they were like okay, but like
Mm-hmm.
nothing that's like, oh my god, I'm so glad that came out. I know we had like Scream 6 and all, but that one did not crack my top 5.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say this much on the TikTok today. My numbers 15 through 11 I posted, and Scream 6 actually came in at number 11. So it didn't even make my top 10. I liked it, but didn't love it. I'm not going to get into it because you can go check out the TikTok at Grave Discussions to see my thoughts on that. But that's where that one stands. But I basically agree with you. I mean, I think all the like most of the really relevant horror releases that came out in theaters happened probably at like the first half of the year, and then I would say the latter half of the year there wasn't really too much. I think Saw X and maybe like the new Insidious were kind of like the biggest ones, and those were just all right. I mean, neither made my top 10, but they were okay. But the second half was definitely dominated more by like you said, streaming and VOD releases and stuff like that. Overall, I think the trend has been that, you get like a few pretty good to great, like new like franchise entries, and then you get some really good like original movies, and then you kind of get the shit kind of in between, you know. that's kind of how it's been the last few years, and I think that has pretty much persisted in 2023. But the original movies that we did get this year, which I don't know how many of them you saw, maybe not that many, but in my opinion, were quite good. But one thing I noticed is that we've been getting a lot of Frankenstein remakes for some reason lately, like reimaginings of that kind of stuff. One of them actually made my top 15, which was The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. Actually, a pretty solid movie, but we've been getting a lot of those. Actually, quite a lot of stuff like harkening back to like the Universal monsters and things like that. Old like literary adaptations, and then I feel like the like quote unquote elevated horror kind of stuff like is maybe past its heyday. Like you do get some movies that kind of resemble that, like very heavily thematical and kind of like depressing and shit like that. But I feel like they're starting to maybe kind of edge their way out. I can really only point at like maybe a few on this list of ones I've seen this year that really kind of fit that mold. Everything else is a little bit different. Like I wouldn't quite call it elevated horror or anything like that, So for a lot of people, that's probably a good thing. I don't really care either way, but I feel like they're kind of on their way out, or at least people are just sort of adapting that style and making it a little more like stimulating. You know what I mean? So that's my thought on that, but nothing like too crazy exciting. I think next year is definitely going to be another big year for like the franchises as well. You got Terrifier 3 coming out, and possibly I'm probably forgetting a few, but there's probably going to be a new Conjuring or some bullshit coming out next year too. So
oh yeah, for sure.
See. Yeah,
or the fucking Halloween TV show. What the fuck are they going to do with that?
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah.
And then we got the fucking did the fucking Friday the 13th prequel TV show come out yet?
I don't think so. And there's supposed to be that Crystal Lake series as well. That's like a prequel.
That's the one.
Yeah.
With about Jason's mom or whatever.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That's weird. I don't know, dude. And isn't A21 like fucking spearheading that?
A24.
Whatever. I just stopped caring about like
I know,
whoever they are. Like it's just
I know. I don't think they're doing that one. I think that's somebody else actually. But I don't even know anymore. I paid attention to it for like a minute back when I wrote for Screen Rant. I think I did an article on that series. Like there was some news or something, but I don't know. Oh, speaking of which, that we have like that adaptation of The Crow. We've got Robert Eggers' Nosferatu coming out next year. So there's definitely some stuff to look forward to. But I'm mostly looking forward to seeing what kind of original movies come out next year, because I do think this year had some good ones, which a couple of them are in my top 5 actually. So we'll get into that. But
I mean, one that like people were like ranting and raving about that just didn't make a lot of money and like wasn't super popular. I still haven't seen it, but I still want to see The Last Voyage of Demeter.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll say this much. I wasn't like super excited about it because I knew it was going to be like a blockbuster monster movie. So probably a lot of CGI and shit like that, not like a fantastic script. It was all right. It was okay. I do think the like heavy CGI in some of the scenes definitely was not good. And the story was like very simple, but it was okay. It's a fun watch, but it didn't make near my like top 10.
Yeah, I don't blame you. What was that one vampire movie, the Irish one?
Are you talking about the one like from years ago that I like, From the Dark?
Yeah, From the Dark. That's the one that you showed me.
Yeah.
When the woman and her husband go to this like abandoned house and there's like a vampire in it. I'm like, yeah.
That movie's sick. I recommend that movie to anybody. Like I feel like it's extremely underrated.
That one's so good. And also did we watch The Shed together?
I think so. Yeah, because we did that article about it. I'm pretty sure we did.
Because I remember I bought it on Blu-ray like once it came out.
Oh, really?
And I was like, yo, let's watch this shit.
That was actually pretty solid. I like that movie. Yeah. But all right, so that was kind of a look back at the year. I think it was another solid year for horror. The big movies really did do quite well at the box office. So I have no doubt that we're going to see another strong year financially for horror next year. We'll see what happens. So let's just not waste any more time. Let's just jump right into our top 5, Sam. Starting out with number 5. Why don't you take the reins here?
Coming in at number 5. Wasn't the greatest movie ever, but you're probably going to know what I'm going to say. I am a fanboy, as are you. So at number 5, I put Evil Dead Rise.
All right.
Letting it sit for a little bit and just marinate, you know what I mean? Initially, I was kind of disappointed by the movie, but just after it being months and months later, I feel like this movie was I know it was divisive, but I also think it's I do think this movie is underappreciated. I don't know, 2013 in a lot of people's heads was a lot to live up to, which 2013 was great and all, but I don't know, after letting it just sit for a little bit, I think I honestly liked this one more than the 2013 reboot. The mom was fucking terrifying. It was something new. It wasn't a cabin in the woods or going back in time. I mean, there were Easter eggs here and there, Ash speaking on the little recording that they found in the basement of the bank or whatever. This is one of those movies you just have to suspend your disbelief and stop nitpicking at the little things, and you'll be able to enjoy it. While I did not enjoy, spoiler alert, the big family monster at the end, I understand thematically what it was supposed to be. Let's all be one family, now we get you, and you guys will be demons too, and we'll be one big demon monster family. And I don't know, I thought it was great. I thought the cinematography was absolutely striking, especially in that beginning scene, and then I felt like it did a great job building up suspense and just overall dread. It was an atmospheric movie, though it wasn't lingering atmosphere, how when something gonna fucking happen. It was oh, when's something gonna happen, and then it's oh, now, and then batshit craziness would ensue. So I feel I judged this movie too harshly, and it's honestly, this was definitely one of my favorite movies of the year, and I think as time goes by and people are looking back at it, it's gonna become one of those classic ones that people are gonna come to appreciate.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, man. I mean, listen, I actually rewatched it today in preparation for this episode. And I didn't pay full attention to it. I was at work, but I did try to watch it, and watching it again just really reinforced my love for this movie. I agree with all of that. I'm not going to spoil anything. It's not my number 5, but I'll just say this much: it isn't in my top 5. But
oh yeah,
but I mean, it has to be, right? But I agree with everything you said. I mean, there are definitely maybe a couple lines of dialogue and that were kind of weird, but and the finale was arguably inferior to 2013's. I think most people can probably agree with that. The final act of the 2013 Evil Dead is just superior to this one. I mean, you can't really beat the Abomination and Mia at the end in the fucking bloody rainstorm and everything like that, right? But this one was cool, but I think everything else in this movie was scarier, more intense,
for sure,
and just more claustrophobic, and just overall just more fucking crazy than 2013. You can't really compare it to the original movies, of course, but if you're talking about modern day Evil Dead, I said this before and I still maintain it. I think this is probably this scariest Evil Dead film, even beyond the first one or the 2013 one, just because I don't know, when you examine the situation that this family is in, especially the one that the kids find themselves in, if you put yourselves in that position, if you were oh, I'm a 12-year-old kid and my mom is suddenly possessed and I can't escape from my shitty little apartment, and my neighbors just got fucking decapitated and their arms ripped off, what the fuck are you gonna do, right? And this movie shows no mercy to the kids either,
no,
which
it
is
fucking
also
doesn't.
terrifying. So.
That's what I like. See, people add it's such a cliche that they're always adding kids in these movies to make you be no, not the kids, and then of course nothing ever happens to the kids. Something definitely happens to the kids in this one, and I love it.
Exactly. Yeah, me too. No, I didn't mean to spoil anything, but I think at this point, most people have probably seen the movie.
You should go see it if you haven't. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Seriously, yeah, it's fantastic. So, great. Evil Dead 5, Samael's number 5 ranked movie of the year. I'm going to go with a little bit of a curveball here. And I don't know if anybody really expected this. I didn't even expect this to be my number 5, honestly. I don't think you've seen it yet, or maybe you don't even know that much about it. But my number 5 movie of the year is Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls.
I have not. What the fuck is going on here? You need to explain yourself.
I will explain myself. So I don't know how much you know about this movie. Anything?
Fucking zero. I've not even heard of this until like the second that you said it is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Okay. I don't know. This is a weird one. You may, knowing you, I think it's a toss up. You're either gonna fucking love this movie, or you're gonna be like, what is this shit?
Well, I'm like picky when it comes to like certain things. Like
I know, yeah.
And sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I love shit like Final Exam. So you never know with me.
Yeah. Right.
Depends on the mood. You
might be like, what was Barnabas smoking? Nothing, I promise. But let me explain. So, for those not in the know, Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls is the feature film debut of Andrew Bowser. So, this is the guy, you may have seen him before. I don't know. He has this character that he like had go viral on social media like a while ago, and it was like this like Satan worshiper guy. He's got like a fedora, and he talks in like this really fucking weird ass like manner of speaking, and he looks like a like cringy basement dwelling like nerd, like that kind of thing. I'll just have to send you some of the videos. Maybe you've seen them, I don't know. But the character itself is like weird, but a lot of people really like it. He's like huge on social media, and he took that character and put him into this movie. And the movie is basically about this character being invited to this mansion by this like warlock guy. And the warlock guy is actually played by Jeffrey Combs. Fun fact.
Oh my God.
Which is exciting. Yeah. This movie has Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton and then like a few other like pretty famous, like horror actors. And so this like evil warlock has like a plan for these people, but he invites like 5 people to his mansion.
Okay, and, I think I have heard of this one. Very like vaguely on like iHorror or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he invites them to his mansion in the hopes of like essentially completing some kind of ritual to raise the demon. Is it Azazel, I think, in the movie or something like that? And he gets there and it's this whole thing, and he meets up with these people, and that's kind of the gist of it. But the overall kind of mood of the movie is very much like 90s style, like full moon kind of, and shit like that. Like it's kind of campy, kind of goofy, but it also has this cool like gothic atmosphere to it. It's got some great practical effects, and even some decent like CGI and stuff, but it's just honestly it's really fun. I found myself laughing at it a lot. I loved the overall vibe. I actually think the characters are all pretty like unique and interesting. There's like a werewolf and shit like that, and like magic and like spirits and demons and whatnot. And I just had a lot of fun with it. It's a little bit difficult to look past the main characters like weirdness and like the sense of humor. It's definitely an adult like sense of humor, but the main character is a little off-putting. I think that's the point, but I just thought that the movie was a lot of fun, and I found myself really enjoying it. So it's not straight horror. I would liken this is like this year's Psycho Gore, man. I'll say that.
That makes sense.
So yeah,
that one was fire too.
That one was fire, yeah. And this one I feel like is sort of a similar vibe. So you may enjoy it. I would definitely recommend checking it out. It is on Screambox right now. So yeah.
AKA bootleg Shudder.
Exactly. Yep. So that's my number 5, Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. Totally out of left field. I didn't expect it to be up there, but I just really enjoyed the movie after this.
Good.
After I watched it. So yeah. But That's our number 5. So let's move on to number 4, Sam.
Okay, number 4, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, really?" But you know me, sometimes hokey, weird shit that isn't like super like conceptual and like too many themes. Like sometimes I just like something fun, and I'll put that shit in my top 10. But my number 4 is VHS 85.
Nice.
I was waiting with like my entire being for this to come out. And then once it came out, me, Olivia, and then Zach and his fiance Brayden, we came over here to my place, and we just sat down and watched it like the day I think it was released or the day after. I like the overarching story of like the shape-shifting guy Rory. I thought that was super cool because shit's about to go crazy. The RV segment, the first segment was great. That was probably like, nothing really happens, and it continues on in another segment, but that one was like making you wonder, like, what the fuck? Why aren't they dying? Spoiler alert. The second segment was like really akin to like Wreck with the whole God of Death thingy. It had like the same kind of like mood, you know what I mean? But I feel like it was super solid, but it wasn't my favorite. I did think that God of Technology one was a little pretentious, the one with like the girl on the stage, and then the God of Technology like starts ripping her apart or whatever. After that, I did like how the RV segment continued, and the people went to that weird like fucking elite family and like kind of got their revenge. I won't spoil it too much. My favorite segment was definitely the Dream Killer segment. That one was so fucking good, and we were watching it, and Olivia was literally like shitting bricks. Like she was like so freaked the fuck out. That one, it was such a good one, and I feel like the mood, the tension, and then the whole time you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then after that segment is done, the whole Rory shit finally hits the fan, as you would expect it. So VHS 85 definitely was not let down by this one, and it was like kind of like, once I heard about it, I couldn't wait. It was kind of a surprise to me when they announced it. But ever since, I love found footage movies, so ever since like they announced it, I was like, I fucking can't wait for this, and I was super geeked. Like I could not wait for this one, and I'm glad I got to watch it this year. Honestly, this is definitely one of my favorite VHS movies.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's my favorite VHS, but there were definitely some great segments in it, and at this point, VHS is just one of those franchises that I look forward to, all the time. This is one that I don't even care if it comes out like every year. I think it's the whole concept of it. You get different filmmakers to create just unique, cool segments. And there's always going to be at least like one or two that really stand out and are awesome and are worth watching, like the movie in general, right? Last time it was the Hell segment. This time it was the Dream Killer one. Fun fact for people who may not know or haven't seen this one yet, that final segment that Sam was talking about, that I really liked as well, was actually directed by Scott Derrickson, who directed Sinister. So that's why it's kind of similar, yeah. And actually, supposedly, that is somehow linked to... Is it Sinister? Or is it... Oh, I'm sorry, The Black Phone. So supposedly it's linked in some way to The Black Phone.
No shit.
Yep. I think it's either supposed to be like a prequel or it's like set in the same universe or some shit like that. I don't know. Because obviously the cop guy in the VHS segment is also in The Black Phone. I don't think it's the same character, but there's some sort of weird connection there. I just read that recently, so fun fact. But yeah,
I know that shit.
Yep. I didn't know that either at first, but I knew who it was by, but I didn't make the connection that it might be like The Black Phone. But knowing the supernatural kind of shit that's happening, it makes sense.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah, I think it's a really solid inclusion, dude. It did not make my top 5, but I still really liked VHS 85. I think some of the weaker segments did let it down a little bit, but like when it's really good, it's really good. And that last segment in particular is like fantastic. So
there's always some stinkers in the VHS ones. Like I don't know which one it was. Was it 94 or 95? The one with like the dudes that are like inside like the dudes like whatever, like they were like science experiments, and they had like different like mechanical limbs and shit like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yep. That was the one by Timo Tajanto or whatever, which I think was in 94, if I'm not mistaken.
I did love Ratma. I know one that people don't talk about is the one with like that's apocalyptic and there's like a vampire in like a warehouse or whatever that they're like keeping. Like I like that one too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I have a soft spot for VHS because I have a soft spot for found footage. So
Same.
I think it'll always crack my top.
Yeah, I don't blame you, dude. I think VHS is awesome. Let's get into my number 4 movie here. This one, you may have in your top 5. It may even be higher, but for me, my top 3, I just love more than this movie. But this movie is probably one of like the unexpected highlights of 2023, and quickly became one of the most talked about movies just because of its sheer like unrelenting brutality and just how fucked up it was. So my number 4 is, of course, When Evil Lurks.
I knew it. I knew that was coming.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be. Like, this is just one of the standout movies of the year. It is just unforgiving. Nobody is safe. By the end of it, you're asking yourself, what the fuck just happened? And why am I feeling so down on myself, you know? But it's a pretty unique take on the whole demon possession angle. I've never really seen a demon possession movie like this one. Just like, and arguably the world building could have been maybe like a little bit better. Like the lore could have been like a little bit tighter, like a little more fleshed out, because, you know, they introduce these like rules and stuff like that, which they don't always adhere to. And there's some stuff that you like wish you knew, or there's some stuff that you didn't really have to know about these like demons or whatever, you know what I mean? But overall, I think the movie is fantastic. Like, the gore is off the charts. There are some scenes that really just make you uncomfortable. You posted, I'm not going to spoil it, but you posted one, I think on one of your socials, like not that long ago when you were watching the movie.
The one with the kid, right?
Yeah, and
oh
when I first saw that, I was like, holy shit.
I'll just call it the bowl of popcorn scene.
Yeah. There's one that really did me in. It was like what I would consider the first really like crazy scene.
Was it the axe?
No, the dog.
Oh shit! I don't know, the axe. Yeah, the dog one had me fucked up, but the axe one too, because like,
yeah, that's
it came out of nowhere, honestly.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere, but I was also kind of expecting it to happen at some point because it's kind of like what's on the poster. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But that scene was still crazy, and that scene really like jump started all the crazy shit in the entire movie. But I just really dug it. I mean, the story itself is like pretty basic, but it's more so just like all the actions that went on, and you know, the good pacing, and just, I don't know, thematically it was crazy. And just I think it's just the way that it makes you feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I felt weird the whole time, like really like uneasy the entire time. It does not let up at all.
Yeah, it's got that like dirty energy, like that kind of like filthy, evil energy. You know?
Yeah, no, just I mean, do you like it better than Aterrados, the Terrified one that he made?
I don't know. That's hard to say. I kind of honestly, I consider them a little bit too different to like compare like that. Because I like aspects of this movie more than I like Terrified, but I like aspects of Terrified more than I like this one. You know, this one, it's way bigger in scope, whereas Terrified like is confined to, what is it, like a few houses on like one like street, like a block. So that movie just feels a lot more like claustrophobic and isolated, whereas this one feels a little bit more like a road movie almost, but then you got like the whole demonic possession thing taking hold of everything. And obviously, you know, there's some disturbing stuff in Terrified, with the kid at the table, and then there's some like good jump scares, and it's a paranormal movie, so it's a little bit different in that respect. But I don't know, I can't really say.
No, I feel you. I can't either. I just wanted to see what you were thinking, because they're both so different, but like I feel like they're definitely in the same like universe, at least, like just another crazy batshit thing going on in like another part of like Argentina or wherever the fuck they're at, you know?
Yeah. I guess the lesson is not to go to Argentina, because there's a lot of like batshit crazy supernatural
Yeah,
stuff.
you never know what you're
there.
gonna like walk into that's already been like unfolding, and you don't want to end up with a dog grabbing your 6-year-old by the neck.
Nope, no, you don't. So that's my number 4 movie of the year. I think it's fantastic. It's definitely, in my opinion, the most extreme movie of the year, and it's always good to see one of those because we had a point in horror like in the 2000s and maybe like the early 2010s where there was like the French extremity, like that whole wave, and like some other extreme horror movies, and then you had like the torture porn stuff and all that. And we kind of got away from that, but now like with a movie like this, I feel like maybe some filmmakers at least are going to say like, okay, you know what, maybe I can take some risks because I see the public reception to this, and a lot of people really like this movie. Of course, you had the movie The Sadness, which was also kind of similar, I think, last year. So we're starting to see the kind of extreme horror pick back up, which is, in my opinion, good because you always need a little bit of a balance of like that and other stuff. So
other than movies like fucking The Conjuring and Insidious, aka what we love to call boo haunted house movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the safe Hollywood choice,
Yeah, where no one gets killed. Not really.
Pretty much. All right, so let's move on. Number 3.
Okay. Speaking of possession, I think you know where I'm going with this.
I think so.
I know this one technically released at film festivals and blah, blah, blah. But this one started picking up traction this year, at least mainstream, so I'm going to count it. My number 3 is Talk to Me.
All right, this is also my number 3. So
okay,
we can talk about it together.
Let's go, motherfucker,
cool.
Bro. It was such a new take. Like the fucking possessed gypsy hand or whatever. I don't know if gypsy's a slur anymore. Sorry if it is, but the possessed like witch hand or fortune teller hand. I don't even remember what it was. And then you hold it and then you say, talk to me. And then you get possessed. And then it kind of is supposed to speak to, I feel like this movie is about, at least in my opinion, what I thought when I was watching it, like the newer kids is desensitization to horrific shit because the whole time like these people are getting possessed and they're fucking doing horrible shit and the kids are just laughing. It's nothing to them. So I feel like technology is like kind of overtaking like the paranormal because like I don't know, it's either like the technology, people are too like enveloped in it, or people are just like they've seen too much scary shit to even be phased. I mean, people have seen like real murders online, you know what I mean? Like so kids nowadays are seeing some fucked up shit. Even like TikTok has some scarier shit about like skinwalkers than most horror movies does. So I really like that, and I like the little twist at the end too. I'm not going to ruin it, but I felt like it was done really well. It did scare me like at parts. Like I did not like it whenever like the people got possessed, and I knew shit was going to go off the rails and there was going to be like a scapegoat in the movie and they were going to blame that girl and you stay away from him, oh, but then it's not her fault, but then it is. And then I don't know, it was a fucking ride, dude, because like the whole time I'm watching it I'm wondering like when is this going to go south. And then, because you know it is always in these movies, there's like people were having fun, and then one day, like, you know what I mean. So I feel like this one executed that really well, and I don't understand the hatred for it. Probably like, and I don't understand people calling this movie artsy. This movie was not artsy. This movie was goofy, fun, and also scary. Like I don't understand. I don't understand where people are getting artsy fartsy or elevated horror. It's really not. It's just like
it's not.
Just like when evil lurks, it's just a different take on possession.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say, I mean, elevated horror. If you want to, attribute that to movies like The Babadook, that makes total sense. I mean, I don't like the term, but I understand what people kind of mean when they talk about it in the context of movies like that, which is very heavy on the thematical metaphors. Even It Follows, falls into that category. This one, I mean, yeah, it talks to a theme, but I don't think it does it in any particularly like heavy-handed or pretentious way or anything like that. It's just, it follows like, younger kids, like Gen Z kids, and that's just what it is, So it's taking a look at these young kids, these like Gen Z kids, and their response to this kind of otherwise terrifying situation, and how much they basically just have become so desensitized, like you mentioned, to things like this, that they just kind of don't care until they have to care, because at one point they realize that, oh shit, this is actually very serious, and so they really have to start caring. And at that point, it really starts hammering home like the themes of loss and grief. And sure, those things have been covered in the elevated horror movies that we talked about, but I think this movie addresses it in just I don't know, in a more satisfying kind of way, I think, because it has like some twists and turns. It throws you for a loop. It makes you think one thing and then it's really kind of another. So there's like those mind fuck elements to it, but at the same time you get some really suspenseful, really well done, tense scenes with like these apparitions and everything else. And just the way it unfolds, I really like. So I mean, from top to bottom, I think it's just a well constructed, scary movie, and everybody I think does a great job in this. It's also crazy to me that the directors of this, who are known as Raka Raka collectively, basically made their fame by like making like goofy ass like Ronald McDonald videos on like YouTube and shit like that, and like pranking videos and everything. And here they come out with one of the most talked about and best horror movies of the year. So it's pretty crazy, but I really liked pretty much every aspect of this movie. It just feels new and different and good. And I don't know. At no point in this movie was I like not enjoying myself watching this movie, especially in the theater. It was just such a good experience.
Oh, you watched it in the theater? I watched it at home, I think. Yeah, I watched it at home.
I mean, at home is also fantastic. I haven't seen it yet. I got the 4K. I haven't watched it yet, but I imagine it's great. But in the theater, it was awesome. Yeah,
I bet, dude. I mean, and I don't know. People are always complaining about horror is always the same stuff, and then people try something new, and they're like, "Well, not like that." Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I thought it was solid, and I thought they did great. I mean, kudos. Like people just want. It's everyone's own subjective taste, and everyone's always like, "You didn't make a movie that." Subjectively to me was very good. Why can't movies be like the shit can movies of the 80s? Like, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like bro, let's be real. 80s weren't that great. 70s were better. Let's be real. The 70s actually had scary movies. And then like I don't know, like people think the golden age of like the 2000s was like the 2010s with like the Paranormal Activities and like the Boo haunted house movies, but like we need to get away from that. I don't know, man. I just feel like it was interesting, and the thing I like about this movie is it's not going to inspire a slew of imitators like Paranormal Activity and Insidious and The Conjuring did. Like, it's its own little thing, and it's very unique. So kudos to them for making a good movie, but not, and also kudos to them for making a good movie and not making it like really copyable. Like, I mean, I bet people are going to be like, hold on to a foot, you suck on the toe, and then you can talk to like your dead ancestors, and then ends up it's not your dead ancestor, it's a pig demon or something stupid. You know what I mean? But it's gonna be really obvious if something rips off this movie, and people are gonna be like, no, that's ass.
Yeah, it's gonna be like one of those direct to video fucking movies that come out at like. Well, I used to work at Family Video, so I can only imagine it's like one of those really awful copycats that's called like Speak to Us or something stupid like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be like made by Uncorked, and it's gonna like, and instead of like it's not only gonna be on Tubi, it's also gonna release on Popcorn Flicks.
Yep, exactly. Jesus Christ. Yep. Once you see Uncorked, it's gonna go downhill from there. But anyway,
oh yeah, shit's going down.
Yeah, Talk to Me, fits nicely within the possession horror subgenre, but it is really kind of its own thing. So I totally agree with that. I think this movie stands alone, and I think it's great. And while I don't think a sequel is necessary, it has been confirmed that we are getting Talk to Me 2. But you know what? I think it's cool. After this movie, I have faith that the filmmakers will at least be able to generate some kind of an interesting story. And just the way that this hand works, like its backstory and everything, it can really go anywhere. Like the story can be anything, which I kind of like. So while it's not going to be like an anthology or like a completely new thing every time, I think they probably will connect back to maybe the first movie or something. But it's still, like, I don't think it's just going to be the same recycled drivel. At least I hope not. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, that is our collective number 3 movie of the year. Talk to me. Let's move on to number 2.
Damn, this one's going to be really quick. So you already touched this one. My number 2 is When Evil Lurks.
All right.
So briefly, I decided one day when I was home alone to just man up and watch this. Everyone was ranting and raving about it. I watched it, I think, the day after Halloween. I was like, fuck it, I'm late to the party, but I'll watch it. And then literally as these crazy scenes are unfolding, I'm just recording clips of them on Snapchat and being like, yo, what the fuck is this? And I literally posted it and people are like, bro, what fucking movie is that? And I'm like, bro, When Evil Lurks, you need to watch it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've said everything we have to say about this movie. This one surprised me. I first heard about it. It started gaining traction on TikTok. I remember one guy started talking about it, and then everyone started talking about it, and then they're like, okay, this one's going to be on Shudder. And I was like, oh shit, no way. And then it was like confirmed. Shudder's like, yeah, we got it. So, I mean, I still need to get Olivia to watch it because like she's going to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that movie is just insane, honestly. I mean, I've kind of talked about it already, but I'm glad you really liked it. I knew you would, just because it's batshit crazy, and it deserves to be up there. Yeah, I mean, people want like true, quote unquote, true horror movies or pure horror movies. I think this is about as close to it as you're going to get this year, just because there's really not any kind of lightheartedness to it or anything like that. If you've seen Martyrs, I think this falls into like a similar vein to that, right? There's just a lot of hopelessness in this movie. There's some genuinely terrifying scenes. There's great gore and everything. So, if you're a horror fanatic looking for that kind of unique, really like true to the genre horror movie, this is it.
Agreed. I'm curious to know what your number 2 is.
Okay. My number 2, I actually didn't have on the list for a minute because I was kind of on the edge of like, can I really put it in like horror or not? Because a lot of people have different opinions on it. But ultimately I was like, you know what? I'm going to include it because there are definitely like horror scenes, like horror elements in this movie. And historically, it has been talked about in the horror like community and everything like that. So I'll explain though. But my number 2 movie of the year is Godzilla -1.
I feel like Godzilla is,
Yeah,
since he's the king of monsters, he always has a place on a horror list. I mean, wasn't that Godzilla movie from a few years ago on our lists?
I think so. Was it King of the Monsters or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Not Godzilla versus Kong or whatever, but because I mean that one came out, it didn't make my list. I didn't even think I put it on my list because that one. See, that's the thing. The Godzilla franchise has become so like diluted at this point.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
I mean, it's been going on since 1954, bro. The original movie, 100% horror because it's like, capitalizing on all the terrible, awful, horrific, like truly horrific real life shit that happened to Japan in World War II, right? I mean, Godzilla itself, which people may forget about at this point, I don't fucking know, but Godzilla itself is a walking, like, metaphor for the atomic bomb. You know what I mean? So
sure.
Its origin is based in horror, but since that point it has become something else. Like, there was a whole period where it was like the fucking savior of Japan, and it was doing like dances and like teaming up with other monsters and like teaming up with little kids and shit like that, right? And don't get me wrong, those movies are fun. Are those movies really like horror? No, because they're more like goofy action and shit like that. And then the American, like the Legendary Entertainment stuff that's come out in recent years, I would say, yeah, there are some horror elements maybe to some of those movies, but overall it's probably more of like an action sci-fi kind of thing. But Godzilla is a kaiju, and historically, kaiju shit has definitely been attributed to horror because it's like giant monsters killing people and terrorizing like cities and stuff like that, right? So this movie goes back to all of that because while it's a big time like human drama, because this movie is actually one of the first Godzilla movies in a really long time to actually have a good like human story, and makes it really emotional. Like a lot of people cried at some of the scenes in this movie, like because of the human storyline, which I didn't cry, but I did get emotional at some points. So there's that, but there are other moments where it's like a fantastic action movie, but there are others where it's just like a straight up fucking horror movie. Like there's a whole scene at the beginning of the movie, which is, I don't consider a spoiler because it's right at the beginning of the movie, where Godzilla comes out of like the water in the dead of night. It's like the end of World War II, and it's like this lonely little island, and he comes out of the water, looks menacing as fuck, and proceeds to like stomp and eat a bunch of like soldiers, and the whole thing is just terrifying. And there's other moments in the movie where Godzilla is just fucking horrifying as well, like blasting cities and like eating people and shit like that. So, that kind of stuff I definitely contribute to horror. And the movie overall, like not even horror, is just one of the best movies I've seen this year.
Nice.
It was made for less than $15 million. It looks better than a lot of blockbuster movies that come out of Hollywood these days. I'll just say that much. And the storyline is fantastic. The characters are great. Godzilla looks awesome. And yeah, so I maybe would have put it at number one, but I feel like as like a horror movie, it's not quite as great, but it's still just such a good movie that I had to put it at number two.
I totally get that, bro. I totally get that.
Yeah. So that's my number two. Sam's number two movie of the year, When Evil Lurks. Let's get into the creme de la creme, the number one movie of the year.
Okay, you may have seen this coming, but my number one movie of the year is Hell House LLC Origins, The Carmichael Manor.
Nice.
It was a blast. I didn't even know that it came out. And I saw it came out, and I ran to Olivia, and I was like, babe, please, we got to watch this. So we ordered a bunch of Papa John's. We got our jack-o'-lantern pizza going. We sat down, we put this bitch on, and holy fuck, dude, this movie scared the shit out of me. It is legitimately scary. Like, holy fuck, dude. Like, at first it starts out, you're like, where are they going with this? And they're like, oh, we're going to stay at this fucking haunted house, and da-da-da-da. And you're like, okay. Shit starts happening relatively quick, and you're like, oh fuck. And then it does not let up. It has a lot of like creepy ass moments of like little demon bitches staring at you from down the hallway. And then it also like ties this movie in with the rest of them and shows how like, look, this whole Hell House LLC thing, it's like a big thing. Like there's a lot behind it. And I don't know if it was already written like this, or if this was like a movie they just added, like, and like, wrote into the main like, canon story, but it worked. There was no really like reaching. There's no like, that's kind of bullshit. No, they're kind of like just shaking their own dicks. You know what I mean? But no, dude, it was legitimately scary. And then once the scary shit starts happening, them running into the woods trying to get away, and those like cult members with like the fucking hoods, and then they run back to the house, and even crazier shit starts happening. The brother starts disappearing and texting them back. Bro, it's just, I don't know, dude. So movies like this just do it for me. Like culty, demonic, paranormal, found footage movies where stuff is actually happening, and it's not just people just like running around a fucking house like Ghost Adventures and like farting and being like, look, there's some heat coming from there. Like, dude, this is my favorite horror movie of the year. I mean, if you give me a good found footage movie, I'm gonna eat that shit up. You know what I mean? So like, there wasn't a lot of like there wasn't a lot of like spoon feeding either. If you, and it's not one of those movies like, oh, if you pay attention, you'll figure it out either. Like, the movie needs to unravel, and then the reveal happens at like the end, and then everything is like tied together, and you're like, oh shit. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it. Yeah, dude, honestly, Hell House LLC Origins, Carmichael Manor is like, honestly, for me, that's what I look for in a found footage movie. This checks all the boxes, like suspense, jump scares, atmosphere. I mean, this to me is a 10 out of 10 found footage movie, and it is definitely my favorite movie of the year.
Nice. Hey, man, I completely understand the inclusion. It actually did make my top 10. Nice. It's not my number one movie, but it did make my top 10. I really enjoyed it. Honestly, when I first heard about it, I was excited about it, but I didn't really know what to think because...
After the third one was kind of a shit show. But dude, this was so much better than like
I know
the second and the third one.
I was just gonna say, like, I had only seen the first Hell House for a while, up until pretty recently, actually, and then I showed it to my. Actually, I think it was during October, I believe, because my wife had never seen any of them.
Oh no, shit!
I had only seen the first one, and I was like, babe, you know, I think you'll like this movie. So we watched it. She really liked it. And then we watched the rest of it together. And I liked 2. I thought 2 was pretty good. Not better than the first one, but I liked it. 3 sucked ass.
It was so fucking bad.
It had some okay moments, but it was trying to do too much, let's be honest. And the end, like, the CGI was crap. And it was just trying to do too much with the story. And I wasn't a huge fan of that one. So... that made me a little bit hesitant for the Carmichael Manor. I had no idea what it was even supposed to be about.
I had no idea either. I went in blind.
It's like a different location. I was like, is this like supposed to be a fucking prequel, or is this even connected to the rest, or what? And then I saw the trailer. I saw the one clown, and I was like, okay, it has something to do with the first 3 movies, but I'm not sure what. And then it kind of clicked eventually. So what you were saying, I mean, yeah, it's not like overly complex or anything. I think it's pretty... easy to kind of grasp what's happening, but I think how it does connect to the first 3 movies is really cool. I think it does a good job of expanding the world building, like the lore of Hell House, you know, even though it's like at a different location, but it's not that far from the Abaddon Hotel or like Hell House or whatever. But I think it does a good job of expanding on all that. And even introducing some kind of like new things, some new cool twists. At one point, I was like, "Oh shit, okay." Like that, like I see how it links up and everything, and that's pretty cool. And the scares were good. It's also arguably the first Hell House entry to like feature some really good shit in the daytime.
Yeah,
which is
real.
Always dope to see because it's not easy to make stuff scary in the daytime. You know what I mean? But this movie, I think, does that pretty effectively. I am curious though, because some of the criticisms involve like the characters, and I think the one girl in particular, like one of the main girl, the sister. So what do you think about her? Like, does it matter to you or not, or what?
I mean, you have to have some really fucking stupid, stubborn person who in horror movies when everyone else is like, we need to get the fuck out of here, they're like, no, let's just stay a bit longer. You know what I mean? It's a trope, and we need that trope. I mean, imagine if like after like shit started going crazy, if they were like, okay, let's just leave. One of 2 things would have happened. They would have left and nothing else would have happened, or 2, craziness would have ensued even earlier and it would have been a shorter movie. Like, you know what I mean? It was just for the sake of like movie length and script that like they stuck around, because I mean, the more they stuck around, it gives more room for crazier shit to happen, and it did. It would have sucked if she was like smart and she's like, yeah, let's get out of here. You know what I mean? It would have been fucking boring. I'm glad they stuck around because crazy shit ensued, as it should have. Like, that's... You always got to have that one person, like the voice of reason can be like, let's get the fuck out of here. And there always has to be the one person like, no, we got to finish our project or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a trope, and it needs to stay because those idiots make the movies interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really have anything else to say about that. I was just curious. It didn't really bother me. I mean, sure, like you can watch the movie and be like, oh, why don't you just do this or that? But the fact of the matter is, it's a horror movie. Without that, things just aren't going to happen. And honestly, you don't know what you do if you find yourself in that situation, right? Panic takes over. You don't always think logically. emotions take over. So I don't really care about that too much. Sure, there are stupid ass characters in horror movies that could have been written better or not included at all, but those are pretty rare cases, honestly. So I didn't really mind it, and I think it's a great number one movie. I really, really liked it as well, and this movie kind of reinvigorated my interest in Hell House. After like three, I was like, but seeing this movie, I really liked it, and I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, they did set it up for a sequel, I'm pretty sure, given the ending.
Yep.
So let's see more. Hopefully they don't rush it, because it looks like they took their sweet time with this one, and it fucking paid off. I loved it.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what the guy has in store next. Director Stephen Cognetti. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how long exactly you can drag this out, because, I would almost liken this, like the story and everything, like the lore and all that. It's kind of like to Paranormal Activity, because, that had the whole family angle with like the background and the witches and all that kind of shit that extended through, what was it, like, well, almost every movie, but the core storyline was what, like
the first 4 or
5 movies or something, and this is already sitting at like 4. So it'll have to be like really interesting to go past like 5 or 6 movies, but we'll see what happens. I mean, you could always do other kind of spin-off stuff or whatever, unless the guy just wants to go in a completely different direction and make a different movie or something. But this movie, I think, brought some life back into it, and I think there's a good setup for another movie. So that's Sam's number one. My number one, you may have a good idea.
Oh yeah,
we've talked about it, but my number one horror movie of the year is Evil Dead Rise.
I knew it.
I was teetering between like this one and Talk to Me for a while, because I really liked that movie as well, until I included Godzilla. But ultimately, it had to be this one. And this is kind of totally a personal bias pick.
For sure. What the fuck?
I don't know, man. It's so good. I mean, I love Evil Dead. And after I saw this movie, I was just floored with it. And I really had such a good time with it. And like I said, I rewatched it today, and it just really reinforced all those feelings. I think it's, as like a horror movie for me, I mean, I think Hell House and Talk to Me are up there, but like alongside those, this is definitely like the best horror film of the year. The suspense is crazy, the tension. Like, I would say that Alyssa Sutherland's character in this movie, the Maggot Mommy, is probably the best
Deadite
horror,
ever.
Like the best Deadite ever, and
I swear to God,
probably the best like horror antagonist of the year. Maybe the best overall character of the year. I mean, I think she's scary as fuck.
I have to agree with that.
She's cool. The acting is like off the wall bonkers. She did such a great job. The design, everything's great, and just like putting that character inside this little tiny apartment and dealing with all the usual like Evil Dead shenanigans is just it's just tense as fuck, and I had such a great time watching it. I think the way that they use like the location, the darkness, along with like the kind of usual like Evil Dead cinematography and like the great score and everything, like all the zoom ins and like the fisheye lens and all that kind of shit was just really, really good. And it all pieced together really well for me. And I know people have gripes with the ending, kind of like you do. I didn't really mind it. I mean, like I said, it's probably not better than the 2013 movie, but it works for this one. And I still thought it was pretty good. But the rest of the movie was just like phenomenal. So
you knew it was gonna be good after that fantastic cold open.
Oh, dude, the cold open is great. Yeah,
literally
the way she rises up out of the water.
That was the best. Oh. That was the best cold open in 2023. Period. Like, I don't care.
I agree. Yeah, it was so good. I mean, the characters are whatever, but it's just to set up how like crazy the movie's gonna be, And I just thought it was awesome. Yeah, the scalping,
that was
thrown to the face, her rising up out of the water. It was great. And then, honestly, I liked all the kid characters too. Like, I think they all did a good job. I think they were likable. The little girl Cassie was awesome. And then, I mean, I don't know. I like Mia a lot. I think Beth is also pretty good. So I liked her as a main character.
She kind of reminds me of Mia. like
Yeah.
aesthetically.
She's even got kind of like almost a similar style of like clothing to her,
Yeah, they
except
look really
hers
similar.
is like blue and she's got the short hair, and like Mia's is like red, and everything. So I think that's probably what they were going with, because I think at this point it's going to be really difficult to bring the 2013 like canon back into the universe. I mean, they might be able to, but without the director and everything, I don't know. So I feel like they're maybe going to try to like abandon that and then move forward with Beth as kind of like the big hero, and maybe like put her into more like of the Evil Dead storylines. It depends. I don't know. They could do something completely different, because as we know, this is one of the books. People think that the book from the 2013 movie is one of the other books, and that's how it can connect. But there's still, I think, a third Necronomicon that's unaccounted for, right? And so whatever movies they're going to do next, they're probably going to introduce that. Who knows where that is? It's probably going to be new characters or something. But
Most likely, I think they're gonna do. Who knows? They might just go with like a trilogy. They're gonna be like this one, and then the next book is gonna rear its head, and then finally like they're gonna like backtrack to Mia,
yeah,
and then all three like characters from the movies are gonna like band together to fight. And who knows? Pablo and Kelly might fucking stop by along the way.
that would be cool. I hope they do, honestly, because I do miss them. I got to
A lot.
rewatch the series.
I love it. It was probably one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Same, yeah. My wife has never seen it, so I'm trying to get her to
Oh my God.
point.
She
At some
has
point,
to
watch it.
She has to, bro. I mean, I never even finished watching the whole thing until I watched it with Olivia. Like, I know me and you, like, you got me to start it, and then I watched up until the episode where they go to the like spooky shop, and when they're about to summon Ellie Ghost. That's where I stopped watching it. The very first time I watched it, but then I finished it all the way through with Olivia, and it's easily like one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Yeah, agreed, dude. I mean, I am sad that it got canceled, but for what we had of it, it was fantastic, and I really love it. So, yeah, but that's my number one movie of the year. Probably expected, knowing my admiration for Evil Dead, but even besides that, I feel like it's just such a good horror movie, and
It was very well done.
I had to think like what to me was like the best overall horror movie, and I thought of this. So yep, that's it for our top 5 list. Honestly, we probably could have gone with the 6 through 10 if we had them, but I think it was overall a good year for horror. Our top 5s had some of the same movies, but also had some different movies, which is always good to see. And I'm looking forward to 2024.
Can't wait. Hopefully even better movies next year. I know I just got a push notification. They just said that Strangers Chapter 1 is due to release in May of 2024.
Oh yeah, they're doing like that new trilogy or whatever of remake or reimagining of the Strangers or something like that.
I think it was like a prequel or something.
Oh really? Okay. I'll have to look into that. Yeah. I've seen some stuff about it. Like I know there's supposed to be 3 movies, but yeah. And then we've got I don't know if you've heard of this one, but there's actually 2 festival movies that came out this year that have gotten really, really high praise. One is called, I forget, it's like Humanist Vampire Seeking Companionship. It's like some fucking long title. It's kind of supposed to be sort of like a dark comedy about like a vampire who doesn't like killing people, and then she finds like some guy who is like suicidal or something like that, but then like she can't kill him, or I don't know, something like that. But it's got really good reviews. There's another one called Late Night with the Devil that like everybody's raving about, and it's supposed to be kind of like it's like set on a late night talk show set, and it's like one night, and the whole thing is like it's like a live broadcast, and the host has someone on who's like claiming to be the devil or whatever, possessed by the devil or something like that. And it's got that like 70s kind of aesthetic to it,
Oh, I love kind of like House of the Devil.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it came out at the festivals, and it's going to, I think it was acquired by Shudder. So next year sometime, probably early in the year, it's going to come out on Shudder. And then obviously there's the franchise movies and everything. So I think 2024 is going to be a good year for horror for sure. I'm hoping to see some more great original movies. And of course, I'm hoping that we can continue to cover them on the podcast and on our YouTube channel and TikTok and everything else. Hopefully, we'll be able to do some more episodes for the podcast if everything works out, schedules work out. And thank you to all of our listeners, everybody who follows us on social media and YouTube and everywhere else. If you have gotten this far, thank you for listening. And we're curious to know what your favorite horror movies of 2023 are. So drop a comment anywhere and let us know your favorite movies of the year. But that's going to do it for me. Sam, anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I'm honestly super excited. I'm going to be watching some Christmas and New Year's themed horror movies.
Nice.
Last weekend we rewatched 1974's Black Christmas. I think we're overdue to watch the 2006 one. Still got to show Olivia Silent Night, Deadly Night, Krampus, and then there was that one horror movie we watched with like Santa Claus, and he was like in some sort of pit or whatever. Do you remember that? It was like Swedish or something.
Are you talking about Rare Exports?
Yeah, Rare Exports. That's the one.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. I actually recently recommended that one on the TikTok channel. So
yeah, that one's really good.
There are some because there are like Christmas horror movies, obviously, but there aren't like a metric fuck ton of them. Most of them are like Santa slashers, so it's hard to find some pretty unique ones, and there are even fewer monster ones. So I was trying to find some good kind of like monster Christmas movies, and there really aren't that many of them. But that's a good one for sure.
I know Silent Night, the remake, is really good, and it's like way more serious than the.
Is that the one with David Harbour? Is that the one you're talking about?
No, that's Violent Night, I think.
Oh, Violent Night. Yeah.
No, there's one that came out like don't quote me, anywhere from 2013 to 2016. It was a remake, but it was pretty fucking good. Okay. It's way more serious than the original.
All right, but yeah, so that's going to do it for this episode, Fiends. We hope you enjoyed it, and leave your thoughts in the comments, wherever, social media. Where can they find us, Sam, if they want to talk to us?
Well, number one, they can find us, the most important one, gravediscussions.net. They can also find us on TikTok. I know we have, what's the TikTok handle? Is it just Grave Discussions?
Grave Discussions, yep.
Yep, he secured that one. They can also find us on Twitter, right?
We no longer have a Twitter.
We no longer have a Twitter because fuck Twitter. I know we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, we're even on a few other websites that I didn't even know we were on. One of my Xbox friends pointed it out to me. He's like, "Hey, I found you guys on this website," and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, we're pretty much anywhere that you can listen to podcasts at this point, because I just upload that shit into anything. It just goes to much like every platform. But of course, we also have the Facebook and Instagram as well, where you can check out our latest videos and updates and whatnot. So definitely go check all that stuff out. And hopefully we'll be back very, very soon. I will have some social media stuff about our top lists. I'll also be including my numbers 10 through 6 on my top horror films of 2023 list on TikTok, hopefully tomorrow. So you can all look forward to that.
I'll watch it. Let me know when you upload it.
For sure. And that's going to do it, Fiends. So until next time, I'm Barnabas, he's Samael, and we'll see you back here on
Grave Discussions. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.